To help us break down the evidence prosecutors have presented in this case so far, I want to bring in NBC News legal analyst Misty Marris. So Misty, Morgan walked through a lot of it there. Let's start with sort of the biggest one. They say they have DNA on the trigger of the rifle that was used. How strong of a case does the prosecution seem to have based on what we know right now?
Based on what we know, very, very strong. So we have that DNA, that's forensic evidence on the rifle. In addition to that, we have these text messages, which also reference that very rifle. So we have these real-time text messages between Robinson and the roommate, which really lay out what was happening at the time. And then we also have the request to delete the messages and not to cooperate with law enforcement. So all of that together is really telling a story. And Ellison, you know, we rarely hear from defendants when we get to trial. These text messages are going to be the jury hearing from Robinson during that trial.
So given these messages exist, if you were a part of the legal team representing the accused killer here, what would be your strategy going into this?
At this point, you really have to be information gathering from a defense perspective, figuring out what evidence is out there and what path you're going to pursue. It's a bit premature to make that determination now. Could there be a mental competency issue? That is something that I'm sure the defense team would explore. But keep in mind, evidence that's in these arresting documents, it doesn't necessarily mean they make it into the courtroom. There's a whole host of evidentiary issues that are dealt with before you actually get to a jury. So I'm sure the defense team will be working on that issue.
The death penalty already on the table. The stakes for a state case couldn't be higher, but could we possibly see federal charges as well?
According to Kash Patel, it's absolutely a possibility. So this is the state case, aggravated murder. They're going to seek the death penalty. That was clear today from the press conference. But Kash Patel said they are exploring online platforms where there were communications with others. Didn't leave out the possibility that there may be others involved. They're investigating this. Now, Ellison, that's relevant because remember we spoke about you need a federal hook. Yeah. And that generally is something relating to interstate commerce. So the use of the internet would be in that bucket.
And in terms of what we heard in the press conference today and also at that first court appearance, what outstanding questions do you have that you want to see answered in the days and weeks ahead?
Well, I think there's still a lot of outstanding questions regarding the timing. He said he's been planning this for a week. Remember, premeditation is an element that prosecutors have to prove. So all of the acts that were taken in order to plan this crime, that's all questions that need to be answered. That timeline is going to be something that will be critical. So remember, we're looking at the planning, the commission, and the cover-up.
Misty Marris, thank you so much. We appreciate it.